All right, we are live. Welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I am your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. All right, who's here tonight? Let's see. David was here early, way too early. Getting some fresh merchandise. Oh, yeah. Farmers Only does that pretty much cover it. Welcome, River. Oh, let's see. Eh, Fred got jaunted over to the Godless Granny. Not a bad jaunt. So there's that one. Don't date at all. Okay, Fred. Let's see. Who else arrived? There was some discussion while we were waiting about purity tests when we were in Christian youth group, and I actually took one of those. I passed, but I had to lie to do so. So Earl's here. That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, Evan. I don't think it's the apocalypse. Not yet. Too early. Too early. Too early, too late, depending on where you are in the day for the apocalypse. So, but today, keeping in the theme with Valentine's weekend and everything, I haven't done a purity culture anything in a long time, and it is a deconversion issue that comes up from time to time. Let's see. Oh, yep, John's here. Good to see John from Holland. That's the Netherlands, not down the road from me, Holland, Michigan. Yes, there really is such a place. This guy's falling. It's raining. Oh, but yeah, but keeping with that, I found a video and it took me back. It just took me back as soon as I watched it, uh, called Christian Dating What to Do. I think we're going to react to that today. The guy has 4 guidelines or advices uh, as to how a Christian should date. And so it kind of took me back to my younger days when I was in the church and in the youth group. And, you know, yes, there's a Hell, Michigan. They actually have in the summer, in the height of summer in July, they actually have like a 5K called Running Through Hell. So there's that. And then there's also a Paradise, Michigan, which is in the Upper Peninsula. So you can drive from Paradise to Hell or vice versa in 6 hours. So there's that. So, but yeah, it's there. So, but it kind of took me back to my youth days when I was in purity culture. And the reason it's a deconversion issue to me is because the advice given here kind of narrows down your dating experiences and it will also narrow down your choices. So it's actually not good advice when you really think about it. And some of the advice is taken from scriptural passages that are going to be um, shall we say questionable. But without further ado, man, the name of the channel escapes me, but it's in the description. So yeah, 1 for yes, 2 for no. I'm gonna put my 1 in there. Well, you might have dodged a bullet. I think you dodged a bullet. But all right, let's put these guys up here. Pause it real quick so I can get things ready because StreamYard automatically starts the video without asking you if you want to. So, all right, here we go. let's see what this guy has to say. We'll let him do the introductory remarks pretty completely, so we'll see what he says.
For every Christian that has a desire to be married, I'm sure the thought of dating has crossed their mind. It must be nice to have someone you love, and for that person to love you back, and to have the opportunity to live life with them, to go out, have some coffee, maybe watch a movie or learn something new together. Dating could be a very good thing. In it, you can potentially find your future spouse, and at the same time, dating can be a harmful and potentially destructive thing if done incorrectly. The Christian who enters into a dating relationship with someone must be cautious as they move their relationship forward. And before I continue, I do want to mention that dating does look different for a lot of people. But regardless of the relationship, these 4 guidelines should be applied to everyone if they want to date God's way. So let's get started.
All right. So there's the introductory remarks. Obviously this is a video for Christians. It's not for everybody else. So I'm going to make that caveat. But he's got 4 guidelines that he says that will help if you're a Christian, what to do when you're dating as a Christian. Now, for some of us who have deconverted, this takes us way, way back, especially for those of us from more of a fundamentalist background. So there's that. There's no hard rules. I go with the Barbosa answer. It's more like guidelines than actual rules. And he's kind of taking that approach too. I'm going to be fair to him. I've watched the video. He's saying he is doing it with a lot of caveats of every couple is different and what each person can take is different. It's the main Christian, thrusts of this video that I'm mostly interested in, because it's those things that can mess up your life pretty bad. It's some of the principles that he's going to set up here. I will say that on a couple of occasions, I think he does say some good things, but other than that, there's, yeah, it definitely, everything is more like a guideline. And because, one of the things I would say about dating, and given my limited experiences, I always felt like the guidelines and the rules needed to be set by the couple, not necessarily. You have your individual rules that you don't cross, but the guidelines for every relationship are going to be different depending on the relationship. But basically, he's set us up. This is what we should do if we're going to date as Christians. Let's see if our secular mindset has a better idea of how to date than the Christians do. So, but here we go. so there's that. But here's number 1, guideline 1 out of 4, set up physical boundaries. I knew this was going to be the first one. It always is.
Guideline number 1, set up physical boundaries. Song of Songs, chapter 8, verse 4. I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. These words were spoken by the lover of King Solomon. This woman was known as the Shulamite, and her and King Solomon were madly in love with each other, and they shared passionate and intense affection. And in her love, she said to the people, do not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases. And what she was saying here is that timing must be considered when it comes to romance.
Okay, well, my first problem with using the Shulamite woman, it's hilarious. Yeah, you could say that her and Solomon had the hots for each other, I guess. But when you read Song of Solomon, it doesn't read like a romantic text. It's an erotic text. It's definitely the Bible's answer to the Kama Sutra. And it's not a good answer, don't get me wrong, but that's the answer. But the Shulamite woman, yeah, Solomon was madly, madly in love with her, because if I recall, somebody calculated that the Shulamite woman was like Solomon's 8th wife. Okay. Yeah. It's, you know, the argument could be made this is the first time Solomon was ever actually in love with a woman. All the rest of them he married for political gain. But when you have a character in the Bible that by the end of his life he has 700 wives and 300 concubines, I'm saying love is probably not a part of it. I'm just saying. Um, it's like, so to bring up Solomon and anything involving romance and dating relationships is just hilarious to me to know, because when you really consider it, what would he have known? He would know how to speed date. He would know, he would have definitely a well, actually it's worse. The final tally at the end of the histories of Solomon is 700 wives, 300 concubines. So 1,000 women, 1,000 of them. So speed sex, anyone? This guy was getting pretty busy all the time. So, I mean, and because he was king, he could do whatever he wanted. So, by the time, that's what I always asked. How the hell? But to use Song of Solomon or Solomon in any context of romance, oh, please, please. No, I'm not going to go there. But the whole idea of love has to have its time is a very modern romantic thing that's imposed on that passage. Don't let love stir until it pleases. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of it. It's one of those things that I laugh at now when everybody quotes Solomon. Like, what did Solomon know about relationships? He married a lot of people for political alliances, and marriage, of course, meant consummating the marriage. And probably a lot of those girls in that context, when you look at a lot of those alliance marriages, they would get married, they'd have sex, and then the lady would go to the guy's house, a woman, and he'd pull her out whenever he felt like it. So not exactly the romantic thing that they think it is. So, thanks, Pinworm. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you for being a supporter of the channel. I appreciate that. Yes. But I can't remember the passage is, but they do give an account of how Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. And the difference between the two is wives he actually had to provide for after his death, like they had to have some sort of financial compensation, and concubines don't. So, yes. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Hey, asshole. Appreciate you, man, being here. Oh, you're here too. All right. Cool. I know what you're saying though, because that's actually what Christian dating leads you to, is if you're used goods, then you're out of luck. But yeah, the first part of this, like using Solomon though, I had to comment on. They also have higher rates of divorce. So, so there's that. Well, let's see where he goes next. What verse of scripture are we going to do?
Look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 3. For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you should abstain from sexual immorality. You see, when it comes to the Bible, any sexual act that is outside the context of marriage is sexual immorality. And this passage tells us that it's God's will for us to abstain or stay away from sexual immorality. And fornication, or in other words, sex outside of marriage, is sexual immorality. So if you're dating, please note that you must do everything in your power to keep your relationship holy and undefiled before God.
All right, I got to stop there. Oh, man. Yeah, well, he's going to talk about that. I think that's point number 2 that he makes. So we'll get to that when we get there. Hey, Coyote. Yeah, I think overall, if people take like Christian dating to heart, they would never date, because there's just no way to know when you've crossed the line, because sexual immorality is so vaguely defined. And this guy isn't going to help us either because he keeps it pretty vaguely defined too. So, so there's that. Yes, outside of my personal social construct, valid point. But yeah, it's like, what is holy? What is undefiled? What the hell does that mean? Um, and it's like sex outside of marriage is verboten, except when it isn't. There's a law in the Old Testament that a guy can get a wife by basically raping her, and then she becomes his wife, just has to pay the shekels, and he says then he has a wife. So that's fornication. So I don't know. Yes, religious dating advice. Isn't it awesome, Bren? Yes, yes, they will tell you that. It's the same as being gay. When I grew up, that was a pretty Christian normal thing to say about masturbation, was that it made you gay. That meant you were gay. So yeah, second day Adventists, yeah. But yeah, they're big into the purity culture of don't don't do anything like that. Yeah, the Henry VIII thing. Yeah, have them beheaded, and then you're divorced or whatever. Create your own religion too, by the way, so you can get divorced. Yeah, it's starting to. Jave dubs are a gold mine too, but yeah. But at this point, I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of the viewpoint of some of these groups. It's really weird. Yeah, weren't we all? I have a friend who has an expression about masturbation. He says there are those that do and those that lie. So, yeah, it is super creepy. Okay, but they sex is one of the ways that they maintain their moral superiority over other people. Okay, if you can say that there are certain sexual mores that you keep and others don't, then you can pat yourself on the back and be this kind of somebody that's standing up in your holy ivory tower with God and looking down on everybody else. So it's the basis for purity culture is really self-righteousness. So, and I would call Christians on that every. Oh, wait. Yeah, I hear you, Evan. So there's that. Yeah, you're still gay. All right. Yes, and then you'll have the yeah, it's there is that viewpoint upon it about it that the Catholic Church has, which is why it, the Catholic Church saying anything about sexual morality at this point is just super ironic and stupid. But so there's that. Yes, it definitely makes the world a better place. Stress relief. Okay. Oh, poor Earl. I can see her many shades of red already, and she's not even on screen. Oh man. Yeah, the shaming is what we're talking about here, because shaming is when you shame somebody, it means you believe you're morally superior to them. And so when they hit outside this, like, already this video is setting people up for failure, because there's just no way to know, because he's not going to spend any time defining what is actual sex and what isn't. And so, a couple getting the hots for each other and doing stuff like that, not necessarily having sex, but doing just about everything else. Yeah, I think that could be a problem. So, y'all going to hell? Yeah, okay. Better company. As so you know full well there's better company in hell than heaven. So, yes, it is crazy how much they talk about it. And it's because it's a repressed topic in certain senses. They talk about it a lot in the context that they can, because there's other contexts they can't. Okay. I knew it. I knew it. Oh, you're still too much of a Southern belle not to blush. I find that extremely attractive, actually. The fact that a woman can still blush in this day and age is an attractive quality. So, yeah, you're wasting babies every time. So, yeah, I mean, when you look at who goes there, yeah, it's a lot funner, a lot more people too. Because to go to heaven, you have to be like this exclusive thing. And like when it comes to the sex, you've had to do everything perfectly, like no masturbation all your life, never even thinking sexual thoughts while you're dating, then getting married and only doing everything in the missionary position. So, um, you know, it's, that's how you're going to get to heaven through your sex life. And I can't think of anything, but so there's that. So, but yeah, everything has to be about being holy and undefiled. So, and he gets that from 1 Corinthians 4:3, which is, yeah, okay. So let's see where he goes.
And this can be difficult, because if you really love your boyfriend or girlfriend, you'll want to be close. And if you're not careful, a touch can turn into an embrace, and that embrace can lead to you and your partner committing sexual immorality, which is the very thing God wants you to run away from. So what are you allowed to do? Should you be allowed to hug, hold hands, kiss? Are you allowed to be alone together in your car?
Okay. And this was always every youth group. Holy shit. When we talked about this topic, this was, how far are you allowed to go? And the problem I always had with the youth leaders at this time is you already have people in this youth group that are way passing certain things that you say they should stop at. So, so there's that. Oh, yeah. How do you know if you're compatible? This brings up a question from a secular point of view. Would I ever, for myself, I could speak for myself, would I ever have a long-term relationship with somebody that I hadn't had sex with? The answer is no, because I want to know if I'm compatible with them. I want to know what their hang-ups are. Definitely want to explore what the boundaries are and stuff like that. And to me, part of that kind of relationship is going to be the sexual side. I think going in blind to the sexual side of a marriage is an absolutely stupid idea. Okay, it's just dumb, because you're setting yourself up for a lot of frustration by not exploring that side of your relationship. And Christians think they're being more moral and they can sit up in their ivory tower and say all that shit. Um, yeah, it's like, oh no cuddling. uh, yeah, yes. But yeah, I don't see how one can be in an intimate relationship with somebody without getting well intimate. Okay, at some point, you're going to have the physical side of a relationship is just as important as the rest of it. And I would never do that again. Okay, not that I did the first time anyway, but because me and my ex-wife were definitely doing things that the purity culture wouldn't have liked. So before we got married, but still, there's that. Some people do. Make a baby. How do she? I don't know, Coyote, but they expect you to have that shift. Like, it's in purity culture, you're supposed to go from holding hands, maybe in extreme purity culture situations, to once you get married, anything goes. And it's like, the wedding night's supposed to be that night of discovery and everything else, but it's like a lot of wedding nights have gone really bad that way. Okay, because the person isn't ready, they're not, and like, I've heard stories of Christian couples that went a month before they had sex, because they hadn't taken the time to explore that area of their life. And there's been some that have just straight up annulled their marriages because of that. So it's like, it's a shifted gears that doesn't make a lot of sense. and it is very, very dangerous. So, my son don't actually practice what is preached. No, they don't. A good example of an online site that came under a lot of fire was Christian Mingle. In the end, people finally called it out for what it was. It was a way for Christians to get together and bank and boing each other, pretty much. It turned out like a lot of those dating sites where it's just an opportunity. Well, we're all Christians here, but we're still going to get our rocks off, kind of thing. So, just need to learn boundaries and what they actually want. I agree with you. No talk about no go. Yeah, it's like you got to talk about it. And the problem with Christian culture is based on the way he's presented it. Should he even talk about it? But you have to talk about it if you're going to be in a long-term relationship with somebody, and it's going to be about love and romance and all that stuff, or whatever. You're going to have some, some aspect of this. Yeah, and then you have some gay Christians become priests, so there is that. How did I know you'd be in the corner eating popcorn on this one, asshole? Oh, I left reasons because of purity culture. I didn't think sex before marriage was bad, but my best friend did. Turned out she was getting okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. There's with purity culture, there is what is said on the outside, and there's what's actually happening. I mean, when I was very young in the youth group, like 12, 13, I literally caught the president of the youth group and the secretary banging, in his van, and so it was like, okay, and then 2 weeks later, he's talking about purity culture. And it's like, so there's if you want the greatest hypocrisy place in the world, any Christian youth group talking about sex. So it's like, you won't see that. So, premarital sex with my wife, but she broke down. Jezebel spirit's her fault. Oh man. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get rid of the Jezebel spirit and talking about reality. But you're a good example of the effects this kind of teaching can have. It's her fault. Well, I don't know if you're being serious or not, but yeah, I lose all of that. I lose it all. So, remember being taught by the church a lot of age that you couldn't kiss or date someone unless you wanted to marry them, and marriage was the only place where sex was permissible. So weird. Yes, it is weird when you think about it in retrospect, because I now feel that moving into the sexual area of your life as a teenager is probably one of the most natural things that human beings do, and then we put a bunch of shame on it, and it causes even more problems because of the shame. It's like, now people are ashamed because of their sexual behavior, and it's perfectly innocent in a lot of respects, I suppose. Innocent in a certain sense. But how do you do that, asshole? Member for 16 months. I don't know. Thank you, though. Your membership meant a lot to me when it first started, and it still means a lot to me that you're still here. So thank you very much. Oh my gosh. Oh, yes. Yes, they still have this mentality. I'm glad you were kidding, but yeah, it's the funny thing about purity culture as the man who used to be a man in a relationship that was affected by it, is that my wife would blame herself for stuff, and I'm like, this is a couple thing. It's not you or me being at blame. It's but religion teaches women to really have this complex about themselves if they're not satisfying their husband, then they have this really downer thing about it. So it's like it's a really weird dynamic that purity culture puts into a marriage if it's there before the marriage. So yeah, you're out of luck. I'm not sure because I look at marriage very differently now as something. I'm more think about long-term relationship with a woman, not a marriage situation. To complete themselves, and yeah, that's the other thing. It's like the whole argument about celibacy versus marriage is a big one in certain things like the Catholic Church, and it's like do you. I mean, it's like I don't know. I always felt that it was weird that priests and stuff couldn't get married, especially certain verses of the Bible that said they should get married. So, not every human wants marriage. They're not fit for it. Christians seem to force it on everyone. Yes, and this is the other problem with this doctrine. It's like keeping your marriage holy and pure ahead of time before you get there is kind of really weird. But like I used to see, like we had a couple of kids get caught every once in a while, both when I was a pastor and everywhere else, and then automatically the expectation is that they should get married, that they have the physical covenant, so to speak. So now they need to have the spiritual, social one. Um, Even if the girl wasn't pregnant or anything, which is another danger in Christian circles, because like it or not, Christian ladies have a little bit harder time like getting on the pill and stuff like that because when you're a young teenager you have to like get permission of your parents in some context. So it always created a problem within the church, and so it was usually up to the guy to kind of steal some birth control. Well, that was hit or miss. And so every once in a while, you get a couple that just got pregnant. They disappeared for a couple months. Next thing you know, they're married. So, so I don't know that this is true. Okay, I don't know that that's true, Fred. Um, when you read the story of the Bible, there's a passage that makes note of the females that followed Jesus around. There's like 6 or 7 of them, notable ones. And I'm still wondering who the disciple who Jesus loved was, who was leaning against his breast. It's like, okay, all right. Yeah, it's there's nothing wrong with it. So, I mean, if it works for you, Grumpy Librarian, then more power to you. So, but yeah, I used to. But then the guilt trip that people who have sex inside the church have is like, you better get married now. I have the same problem. That's why I asked, are you being serious? Because it's like, yeah, it's like, so. Yes, I know they do, but they need to but they also canonize like First Timothy chapter 3. So, overseer should be the husband of one wife and all that jazz. So they kind of pick and choose just like everybody else does. So yeah, I mean that's also possible too. See, so I don't know that Jesus was all that celibate. Okay, I mean there's a lot of gaps in what's not covered, but when you have a beloved disciple leaning against his breast, and you have him being followed around by a bunch of men and women, and they're in secluded places a lot. Yeah, I don't know. If he did exist. So I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is, though, skeptically. It's like marriage becomes this thing. Is this something that is going to benefit our relationship or not? If it benefits it, great. If it doesn't, so yeah, he wasn't all that. John isn't all that subtle. If you read the passage, it's like the guy or gal is literally leaning against him. And so there's that. So yeah, put a ring on it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not necessarily a Christian thing, but I just remember so many kid couples over the years in my ministry and before that where the pressure to get married once they had sex was intense. Okay. And I'm like, you don't even know if these people are ready for each other. You don't even know anything about them. It's like, and yeah, it just creates problems. But let's get back to the video. I'm sure he'll say something else we can comment on.
Consider Romans chapter 13, verse 14. But put on the Lord Jesus Christ and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill its lusts. This passage tells us to get rid of anything in our lives that makes it easier for us to sin. Look, I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, because every dating relationship is different, with their own unique strengths and struggles. But what I will tell you is that it would be wise and advantageous for you and your future marriage if you keep yourselves untainted from the guilt and shame that comes with embracing sin.
Okay, I got to stop there. There wouldn't be any guilt and shame 90% of the time if it wasn't for the doctrine of sin, which is a made up thing. Okay, the fact is guilt, shame, and sin are actually not caused by some thing about God. It's the culture of the church. Okay, the church is what's causing the sin. Shame is all about doing something that the in group doesn't approve of. Okay, it has nothing to do with any relationship with God or any of that crap. Okay, so it's like there wouldn't be any guilt and shame about it, and there wouldn't be this idea of being untainted or tainted if the whole idea didn't exist. You would actually have probably a very realistic and much more advantageous to your being a couple if you just had that discussion, had those experiences. And so there's that. Yeah, he's okay. Anything from Wes Huff. How do you know Wes Huff is lying? He's talking. I've listened to him now so many times that I know he's a darling in apologetics to some these days, but if I was still a Christian, I'd be going, what the hell are you guys listening to that guy for? Okay. He's like, it's not a Jewish tradition that I'm aware of. No Jew would say that that's a tradition. And so and he's basically saying one witness. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. You realize how hearsay and stupid that sounds when you actually say it out loud. Oh, wait, he doesn't, because he does say it out loud. But yeah, Wes Huff would be, yeah, I'm just not that. No, thanks. Okay. Uh, yeah, untainted. Untainted is a great word, isn't it? There's a lot of things you could do with that word. Sarcasm. Oh, yeah. There's actually a lot. The Amish are kind of actually a little bit dirty here when it comes to the Christian thing. Like they actually have the couple sleep together with like something dividing the bed so they can't touch each other. But they play that game. So, but yeah, so there's that. But yeah, there's a lot of actual see, like he's avoiding the issue of how far is too far, that we used to talk about in the church all the time. But there's other people that will tell you straight up that this is too far. Holding hands, hugging, and kissing was my denomination's limit on dating. Um, Anything beyond that was sinning. So yeah, it's fairly commonplace. There's going to be consequences. So you can confirm that. Oh, all right. I can't say that. I've been in some awkward situations, live long enough to get into those. Um, I remember one time I was in an elevator and it was really crowded and they over pushed it. And I was in between two ladies and yes, their boobs were against me. So, so Hey, thanks, Triple E. Appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate the support. I hope you're doing well. I know you're going through the whole deconversion process, so I hope you're doing well. And I do appreciate your support. But I hope this channel is helping you too. So I think that's sarcastic. Yes, he's living proof of how a little dangerous knowledge can be dangerous. There's a lot of those apologists, actually. Yes. I don't know, Earl. Have you ever been in that situation where you're like, this guy's against my stuff, and it's not really his fault. you know, um, I never really get discussion about it. As a man, I found myself in that situation a few times, like in elevators and stuff. It's like, damn, this woman is like, her chest is right on my back, and it's it's like, it's a good feeling. Yes, it does happen in the wild. So I've had occasions where I've been working with the people I work with, and a lot of the people I work with are women. And you turn around and they're walking, you didn't see them, and they run right into you. And yes, my hand has been in an awkward place several times. So, gotcha. All right, there you go. See, it happens. It happens. So, but yeah, I've had that happen to me so many times. And I'm not sure sometimes it was unintentional either. There's a few girls that they see my 6'4" frame, and I don't know, something kicks in and they want to be with that. So intentionally leaning. Yeah, okay. Oh, all right. Yes. All right, let's see where he's going to go with the guilt and shame trick. I've already kind of know, but here we go.
So don't position yourselves in a place that makes it easier for you to sin. Don't.
Does anybody else find it funny when he says, don't position yourself? Or is it just me? Just me, probably. Don't position yourself. What a wrong choice of words. What a wrong choice of words.
Awaken love until it pleases. And it pleases most when you do things God's way and in God's time.
Except the Shunammite woman never actually says what he just says there. It's more of her expression of, when we get together, that's the time for it. So, yeah, I'm sorry. It's a funny word. Don't position yourself into a place. Oh, it's all the dirty-minded people in the room, I'm sure. All of us. Oh my gosh. We're spreading God's word. Oh. Oh. The life of a dental hygienist. I am sure you write on this on your blog, but you should write a book someday. I'm sure there'll come some point in your career where you could write a book. Yes, which of the 600 positions? Really? Okay. Yeah, me too. I've been there for a long time. I never got past the dirty minded phase, even when I was a pastor and a Christian all the time. Yes, very on point. But yeah, I never got past that. It's what kept me sane, I think, throughout my Christian and ministry life. Try going through a church service and not having a clean mind with what people say, and if you have a dirty mind, the most innocent things suddenly become very, very entertaining. So, but yeah, when you said that, I'm like, oh, that's just the wrong choice of words there, bro. Just the wrong choice of words.
Guideline number 2, check their pace. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? And what communion has light with darkness?
Okay, so he's using a verse here that very much puts Christianity into this holy, we are the light kind of group, and everybody else. And that, yes, he literally said the thing. Yes, I know. That's why I thought of it. Yeah, well, you know what? Uh, get enough of those blog entries together and you'll have the material for a book. I know I do. So I have the material for like 3 books. So, but yes, he literally said the thing. Me too. Me too. Hey, pancake mix. How you doing? But yeah. Um, but yeah, this is the verse that Christians in purity culture use for um to basically put them in the in group and put everybody else in the out group because they're in darkness and we're in light. So there's that. So but yeah, it's I wonder where he's going to go with this when it comes to the context of dating. Can we all guess? I think I can guess. So yes, it is an experience. Trust me. I've seen all kinds of things. I think the biggest thing when I worked in meat department is, you have those bunker freezers that are like in the middle that you have to kind of lean in to grab stuff. I think women in the summertime don't realize that when they lean over and they're in a sundress or something, yeah, you get to see everything. It's like, and because it's cold, other things happen. Nipples get hard and things like that, and they don't realize it. And like in the one I worked was a college town, but it was also like a tourist town too. And the girls are just oblivious why guys hang out in the meat department. So yeah, they're just kind of oblivious. So don't date unbelievers. Yes, this is where he's going to go. So here we go.
Now, this yoke is not an egg yoke. This yoke is a piece of wood that connects 2 oxen so that both of them can carry a load. Because both oxen are connected, it's important that both be about the same size
Yes.
and have similar levels of strength. Because if one ox is weaker than the other, the load they pull won't be able to move forward. Actually, they'll go around in circles as opposed to successfully carrying the weight that they were supposed to. Now, we can draw many truths from this passage. For one, God says we as believers shouldn't be unequally yoked or connected with unbelievers.
Okay, everybody called it. Outstanding. So there's that. Yes. Oh, yeah. I hadn't thought about that one, but yeah. Mattress shopping and miniskirt. Yeah. Okay, there you go. There you go. Retail is an experience. Yes, they are. And that's the problem because this is one of the verses that in my opinion, is one of the most damaging ones that Christians hold to. Because it basically severs your relationships with anybody that doesn't believe. Okay, they're lesser than you. You believe something that's true, and they all are walking in darkness. Um, it's a typical cultic exclusivity tactic where you put people into a position where they can't be connect with anybody outside the faith, which just creates a nice little echo chamber for them. But non-Christians are human, but they're lesser humans because they don't believe. So there's that. Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough, Sky. Fair enough. If you encounter a Christian that's dating outside of Christianity and they pull this verse on you, I would definitely run away. Okay, because what they're doing is they're doing evangelistic dating. If you want to get with me, you got to go to church and become a Christian. So they're going to push you to have faith. So yeah, I mean, I think Earl said it earlier. That's the end of that. Yeah, I wonder. I wondered too. Uh, some of them do, some of them don't. Uh, don't know. unequally yoked, I think, gets a. Yeah, they care about their faith position. It's okay, Bren. Yeah, you got to make sure you don't put yourself in the wrong position. I keep her. Oh man. Yes, installed security equipment. Yep. Yeah, it can make problems later. I can tell you from my own personal experience, this is what kept me from dating other girls that probably would have been better for me when I was in high school as a person, because I could only date within the very limited pool of the youth group. Like even my youth group, it was like, you can't date all Christians. Okay. He's going to get to that in a little bit too, by the way. It's going to get really exclusive in this video. So I'm doing great. And everybody else seems to be having fun in the chat. This is always a fun topic. So, especially if you're a little dirty minded. So, I think it can. Um, I get the advice, certainly, if you get rid of the religious context and don't date persons outside the faith, I guess I can understand some of it. Because he is going to give one little piece of good advice in this, actually, but it's almost accidental. Yeah, yeah. So there's that. Oh, man. Here we go. Let's see what else he's going to do with this thing, though.
So, in the context of dating, Christians should not be dating or romantically connected with people who aren't Christian. Why? Because one person will want to follow God and the other won't, which will lead to one of two things. Either the Christian will be hindered in the relationship as they pursue God, or it will lead to compromise. Another point I'd like to add is to consider this passage even if both the boyfriend and girlfriend are Christian. You see, some people call themselves Christian, but they aren't really that serious, or they lack a real relationship with God. And these kinds of Christians can be more of a weight or a hindrance in a romantic relationship, and can possibly lead to being unequally yoked, spiritually speaking. And this would look like one person in the relationship pursuing God and taking steps to move forward in their faith, while the other one is indifferent or doesn't make it a goal to grow further. So when you're dating, I would encourage you to pay attention to both of your paces when it comes to following God.
Okay, so he finally gets to the point of what he's trying to say is that, because his level of purity culture, it's not even that they're Christian or not. Okay, it's, are you as dedicated to following God, which is a subjective as hell thing, as I am? And what happens if later on in life somebody decides to say, no, I'm done with this faith thing. I'm done with religion. I don't want religion to be that serious a part of our life. We need to work on other things. So, so there's that. But yeah, being anti-atheism. Ha, poetic with your words as always, Earl. As always. But yeah. From Alabama. There might be some truth to that. I don't know. The Mormons might think that might be true. It's hard to tell. But yeah, this is the kind of shit that leads to you constantly judging each other as a couple as to whether you're following God enough. Okay. And you want to talk about something that's going to put a stress on your relationship is if the other person thinks you're not following God enough and you think you are, holy shit, is that going to cause friction for no damn good reason? So I don't. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, I don't, if you're an atheist, you put yourself in even a more limited dating pool, by the way, especially in the context of America. The United States, heavily religious. compared to other Western countries. So, yeah, that's the problem, because what you're gonna have is a guy, like, if it's a guy in a relationship looking for a Christian girl, which is a context I can speak from, you're going to start making a list of what a real Christian is. Okay. And we get that discussion on this channel all the time, because somebody, well, I get it all the time. Well, you were a Pentecostal minister and then later on a liberal minister, so you were never really a real Christian. Well, how the hell do you determine what a real Christian is? And if you put that into the dating context, how the hell is anybody going to know if they're following the real Christianity anymore after 2,000 years? I just don't know. It probably would. It probably would. I don't know if you translate that into Saint Nicholas, maybe the Catholics would like you. See, confirmation from about a former resident of Alabama. I think that's probably it. Loyalty, not cheating, if that's terms of the relationship. You know, there are some relationships where that's not. Sexual fidelity isn't a term of the relationship. They're together and about everything else, including that. But there's a lot to talk about when you're getting into a relationship, and that's one of them. But yeah, other than outside of that, it's like you're always adding baggage to the relationship. Yes, not a true boinking partner. Yes. No true boinking partner. Yes. That might be the fallacy involved here, because it's like you're going to spend all your time judging whether they're a Christian or not. Yes. Yes, it is very strange. Very, very strange, Grumpy Librarian. I get that all the time, because anybody outside the Pentecostal faith thinks the Pentecostals are a cult. Okay. And I used to literally, as a Pentecostal, point to cult-like behavior in almost every religion. So, yeah. A lot of fallacious. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Oh my God. Yes, this is the problem. Because if you're looking at this guy, well, which Christianity is the right one? Are they a real Christian? What do you mean by dedicated? This is all subjective as hell, like in the touchy-feely realm of subjective, not in the moral sense. But it's like, how the fuck would you know? So, yeah, I mean, I just, and wouldn't you be putting yourself in a position where you think you're the most dedicated person to make that judgment? I'm not sure. So watch your pacing, I guess.
Are you moving in a godly direction that you both want at a pace that you both desire? Guideline number 3, live life, not fantasy. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 3-4. You therefore must endure hardship as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. No one engaged in warfare entangles himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who enlisted him as a soldier. For people who think the Christian life is always full of happy smiles and warm hugs, you're wrong. The Bible describes the Christian walk as being likened to war, with its fair share of struggles, hardships, casualties, and losses. So as you're dating, you must remember that real life can be difficult. And I think sometimes when people date, people like escaping reality, and they go to the movie theater and they go on these expensive dates at fancy restaurants and they go to amusement parks, and that's fine and all. But dating should also include living real life together. Anyone can be in a good mood when you're doing fun hikes and staring at each other's eyes at a candlelit dinner in a restaurant. But how does your
All right, I'm going to stop right there. What part exactly, Pancake Mix, did you hear? I heard a lot of crap in that one. Okay. Yeah, it's a book. It's a book. I know. Yeah. I get it. And a lot of us atheists will say, I don't care what's in your book. But I care about what's in their book when they use it to teach other Christians bad shit. Okay, I have to care about it. So there's that. But yeah, it's like it's the fantasy life. Okay, it's like he's like, come down to real earth. And yet I'm like, you are in a fantasy if you believe in Christianity. So you're living a fantasy, but you want to encourage people to be in real life. Now, don't get me wrong. The spirit of that advice I agree with. And he's going to say some things I actually kind of agree with here about dating behavior, because I think it's important not just to be with somebody in the best times of your life, but also in some of the more mundane, regular times of your life. Yes, that's the irony. Very ironic. Okay. But Paul definitely lived in a fantasy world. So it's like, and assuming, I don't think Second Timothy was written by Paul either. It's written by a guy who forged his name. So there's that. But yeah, yes, never have fun. Don't do that. Yeah, I have to say, a lot of people do these videos because they have real life experiences. So yeah, I love fantasy. Yes, exactly. And I think that's the problem all of us are having with that statement. Is like, live in real life, don't live in fantasy. Like, you literally are a Christian that has a lot of fantasy elements to it. And yeah, so there's that. Yes, it makes it very, very complicated to be a Christian and date. I mean, I'm sorry, I've dated since I've left my wife, and it's like, it's already complicated enough, and quite frankly, dystopian in my mind. And it's like, so it's already complicated enough. If I can't imagine still being a Christian in the context of this. It would absolutely drive me mad. So can't get over. They're not allowed to have fun together. Yes. It's not applicable to him. I think what he's going to say in the next few moments is true, and it's actually decent. I would actually encourage couples to do some of that, like that he's going to suggest here in a few minutes. But it's his basis for it is wrong. Okay, and so there's that. Yeah, the problem is if you make everything into a war context, pancake mix, it does make everything conflict by nature. And so the Christian always walks in this idea of spiritual warfare. Maybe I'll do a video on that someday, but it's like, it's always in the context of, we're at war with these principalities and powers that live within us and live within our partners, and or everywhere. And you're always fighting and you're always battling. I can't see how that's going to give you a stress-free life. I mean, my stress level dropped when I became an atheist 100-fold about that very issue. Like, I'm not fighting demons. I'm not fighting that. It's none of that. And a whole bunch of complication just left my life. So yeah. I've always thought I need a sarcasm flag. I do. It's your fantasy self talking. Yeah, I understand where this is being part of a relationship, weathering its ups and downs with someone, whether Christian or, but there's nothing wrong with dating being fun. Yeah, and he will say that too. Okay, so let's get to that part and see if everybody else necessarily agrees that this is good advice if you take it out of the Christian context.
Partner respond when there's bills to pay, money to manage, or rooms to clean? And how about if they have a family to take care of and responsibilities to prioritize? Now, I'm not saying that those fancy nights out are wrong. No, date nights are good and can promote communication and intimacy. But real life doesn't look like that every day. Life goes on, and it requires a lot of hard work, conflict management, effective communication, and acts of service that can be inconvenient at the moment. So for some dates, try making a meal, or try doing your homework together, or clean, or do laundry. The idea is to look at your schedule and see what you regularly do, and then do those things together so you can see what living life looks like with them at your side.
Okay, I want to stop there because that segment right there isn't bad advice. I got to give the devil his due, okay? Because I think you do need to have those moments where you get together and just do regular life together. to see what that's going to feel like. I don't think this is bad advice here. If you take the Christianity out of it, it's not bad dating advice. Yes, it would be. Yes, this is the problem when you have the mentality like we were talking about before, pancake mix, of just it's always a conflict. Everything's a war, everything's a battle, and that just makes life much more difficult. Christian pickup lines. All right, chat. What's some good Christian pickup lines? Give it to me. Oh man, I can already see this one. Christian pickup lines that aren't really Christian. I don't know. The only one I can think of is like, do you want to get nailed like Jesus? So, but yeah, I don't think this is actually bad advice. It's like, yeah, have the fun dates, but also have some times where you just get together and do normal stuff together, because that's going to be your life together if you decide to make it more permanent. If you can't get along in the regular, normal day-to-day routine, it's not going to be that fun to be together permanently. So I'll wash your feet. Oh. Oh. Yeah, double penetration. Triple penetration, actually. I don't know how you pulled that one off, but she's never had sex, but then he never met you, babe. Oh my god. Oh. Yes, welcome pancake mix to my chat. Welcome. You're welcome. Oh, girl, the only bosom that gets me more excited than yours is Abraham's. Oh, want to get yoked. Oh, I was reading the book of Numbers the other day and I realized that I still didn't have yours. Oh, that's, oh. Oh my gosh. I knew you guys wouldn't fail me. I knew you wouldn't fail me. I know my crowd too well. Guys are awesome. I'm sure there's many, many more. All right, let's see where it goes with this. We should probably finish this video at some point tonight.
Guideline number 4. Love God more than your partner. Mark chapter 12, verse 30. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment. This thought is one that every Christian must always have at the forefront of their mind, and it's, I must love God more than everyone and everything, and that includes my significant other. Here's the thing. Love looks very different for everyone. People are unique. Therefore, the love relationships that they share with others will also be unique. So while I can give you guidelines on...
All right. Already, he's going to waffle here, okay? Because he wants to, every relationship is different than that. But then, if your relationship with God comes first, I mean, I could be really funny about this. Oh, so there is a threesome all the time with Christianity. And but really that's kind of what you're opening yourself up for here, isn't it? Like there's always this other guy in the room that you have to have a better relationship with than your partner. Like, aren't you kind of setting up people to think in those terms, that there's always like, there's that. Oh, you guys, I know I shouldn't have turned you loose on this side. Yeah, he's by himself. God bless you. because he already has. The Red Sea, okay. Won't be the only thing splitting tonight. Okay. Yeah, there is no other part of that command. There is a few others. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's also not a command they pull the command out of context. Jesus does that too. So, yeah, it's also a really bad idea behind love. I mean, I love a lot of the members of my family, and I have relationships with them. And sure, there are some that are closer than others, and that's always going to be the case. That's just life. But this idea that somehow you got to put this imaginary deity ahead of everything else, even your own relationship, there's times for your relationship with your significant other. There's times to get away from it for a while too. And I think that's every relationship I've ever been in. It was sometimes just good to get away and come back to it, So there's that. Yes. Oh, I promise that second coming. Okay. Shocked and impressed. Yeah, Earl. I Killed Earl does that a lot. Um, yeah, it's like it's pro family, but at the same time, you're like bringing in somebody into your family that everybody's going to perceive differently because everybody has a different perception of God because they have the perception that they've created in their head of what God is. So I don't know how this works. This is bad guideline here. If you're going to have a real good long-term relationship, having a third guy in it, a third person, probably isn't a good thing if that's what you're aiming for. I mean, if you're in a poly situation, I guess you got to deal with those issues. But if you're looking for like an exclusive monogamous relationship, bringing in a third person, it's like, at this point, I get funny. It says, oh, so every Christian marriage is a threesome. So it's like, and that's done in fun, but really when you look at it from a relationship perspective of what they're expecting, that's very, very true. Okay, because each person in the marriage has to be more dedicated to God than they are to each other. How the hell do you gauge that? So oh, I'd have to can I lay hands on you? See, I know. See, every time I turn chat loose on this, they never stop. Oh, oh, oh. Yes, Earl she is naughty. She is naughty, and she's self-admittedly naughty. Although she also turns various shades of red at the same time. So there's that. Oh, yeah, that's the thing. It's another, when you look at the family unit, I personally think that religion actually, they always claim to be pro family, but really they're kind of tearing the family unit apart by devotion to the religion being higher than the family. And from an evolutionary point of view, I would say family is your better bet. Okay, it's going to lead you to more long-term survival unless you have a shitty family. But I always put that caveat in there because I think a lot of bad family relationship advice is given by people in religion, and it ends up being more problematic. So yeah, this one's not a bad guideline. Yes, God likes to watch. Well, he is omnipresent and omniscient after all. I ask Christians to think about that, and they don't like to think about it because if you tell a Christian couple that's newly married, hey, so what voyeurism have you been given to God? Because he's the ultimate voyeur. What are you even doing that would impress him? So, so it's melting your chastity belt off. Yeah, probably. Yeah, she is a conundrum. She openly admitted. Yes, this is why they end up cheating and getting divorced because how the hell do you judge all that stuff. Okay, if you accept the idea that there's a greater relationship in your life besides the relationship you have with your significant other, then that opens the door to mentally thinking about other relationships. Now, not that I realize there's spectrums to everything, and religion tries to put us in this real binary thing, but you open up the idea of a romantic idea relationship. Like when you hear women who are Christian describe their relationship with Jesus, listen to them sometime. And you're like, are you describing a relationship to a deity or to your wannabe lover? Okay. And when boys describe their relationship with Jesus, it's very bromancerish. It's like, when you have that relationship with Jesus context, it's like, how are you describing that relationship? It's like, it's a difficult thing to put your brain through. So yes, it's okay to treat your spouse even worse is also a message of this. Okay. It's like, you're being told, okay, I can treat my spouse shittily if it's about my relationship with God. And that opens up a whole bunch of excuses. Okay, I can't give you the time here today because I've got to go pray and I got to go to this church service or I got to do this Christian event. And religion suddenly becomes the affair. Okay. Trust me, as a former pastor who had a pastor's wife by his side, this is definitely the case, because there's a lot of times that we should have worked on a relationship, and maybe if we had, we would still be together today. But we didn't, because Christian service took precedent over our relationship, because we had to be more dedicated to God than anything else. And I'm going to tell you, that becomes a drug. It becomes an addiction. It becomes an affair of its own. So yes, he is. Oh, yes, but yes. Yeah, yes. Adjusted rates for, but yes, that's the thing. Atheists are not as likely to get married, okay, because some of us understand that marriage is a good chunk of the idea of marriage is religious, okay. Um, but there's also some legal stuff that people get married for too. So, but atheists often have good long-term relationships, although they may not be married, because they realize they got to work on the relationship and that there's no third partner, in this thing that's helping them out. So, yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, it's the legal issues. Like in the United States, if you want easy access to your spouse, to your significant other, like in a hospital context, and having the rights to the information, their medical information, to make decisions, marriage is the best way to do it. Marriage also, in large part, if you look at the laws, they are designed to protect the children when couples go bad. So, yeah, that's the other thing. Which God are we talking about? Fred? Yeah, okay. You're as innocent as God when it comes to watching porn, because he watches all of it. So there's that. Side note, today I'll make a video talking about how immigration is on and grow, as you don't get much natural conversation. Yeah, that's kind of true too. Oh man. Yes, exactly. No one can stop me. All right. Well, this only has a little bit more to go.
On what you can do, God must lead your relationship, not me. If you're dating now, you should be praying more and reading the Bible more to see if this person that you're seeing is someone that God wants for you. Look, you need God in your relationship. You need his help, his leading, his wisdom, his encouragement, and his support. God is the God of love. And if you aren't connected to him, you won't be able to love your partner the way that he wants you to. It's God and his word that will correct you. And he may actually bring you to a place where you realize that you need to break up. So remember, God is your God and the king of your life. If he tells you to love, then love. If he tells you to serve, serve. And if he tells you to let go, then let go. Either way, love God more and follow him as he leads you according to his spirit and his word. So, big topic, Christian.
Okay. This is the question. And the thing is, if God exists, I suppose he would be a good source of information, I mean, we're talking about a guy who sees everything, watches everything. So in relationships, he would probably know everything, right? But if he doesn't exist, then what's really going on? What's really going on in a lot of this stuff is people are struggling through whether or not they want to have this relationship at all. And then they're going to blame God when they break up. God told me to leave you. Why don't you just be honest and say, there's just some things about it that just aren't working for me. And I need to go somewhere else. But this gives you a ready-made excuse. But the problem with this advice is, doesn't this also kind of conclude that once you are married, then God wouldn't make a mistake on who you should marry? Well, that's proven not true almost on a daily basis. So yeah, just why not love them directly? It's like you got to have this go between, this midpoint. And this is a big Christian purity culture thing where you're constantly whittling and worrying about whether or not this person serves God enough, whether he's the right choice, whether he's the one, or she's the one, that you're supposed to marry, that God has for you. It's amazing how God always seems to have the one for you that you were interested in the first place. So, yeah, it's, so yeah, there's the aspect of that. It's like submitting thing. You're never going to read the cookbook. That's good. It doesn't have very good recipes anyway. So there's that. God's epic three-way. And I've said before that if you read the descriptions that Jesus gives of the Holy Spirit in John, it sounds very motherly, like a woman. So maybe that's the dim, dark secret of the Trinity, is that the Holy Spirit is actually a girl. So yes, why do you need correcting? I don't know. He's supposed to be a cherubim. I saw a picture of him the other day. Wasn't a very flattering one. Cupid's drunk these days. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So, yeah, subservient demand to shut up and take it. Not being in picture devolves. Yes, exactly. And this is the thing. Like, I've heard conversations of breakups between Christian couples of, well, she wasn't being very submissive to me. Or the girl will say, I'm not sure he's the kind of guy that I can submit to. Okay. And that breaks up a lot of these relations early on, which is probably a good thing. But it's like, if you got rid of the whole dynamic of submission, except if you're into that sort of thing, then it changes the whole dynamic of whether or not you're a good couple. I never want to hear that expression again in my dating life. If, I don't know if I could submit to you as a man. I'm like, well, then we're done, because that's just not a context for me anymore. It's like I really work very hard to treat everybody as equal. So I don't always succeed, but then I correct myself. But it's like the biggest attitude I had to get over with dating was, okay, can I respect this person as an equal? Okay, or are they going to play this Christian game with me of submitting to my authority? At that point, I don't want anybody to submit to my authority. Okay, I'm just kind of done with that whole idea, as if I've got anything to offer. I You said it, Katie. You said it. Yes, I would agree with you. Okay, it definitely, because the undertone of this whole video is a Christian marriage. Okay, when you look at the descriptions of the Bible of a Christian marriage, you have, God the head of man, man the head of woman, kind of thing. You have the submission to the thing. You have, if women don't just take what their husband's giving to them, then they're not being grateful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you're right. I mean, when you consider the fact that the Bible's written by a bunch of men, and it has a very patriarchal viewpoint on women, yeah, that whole edge of it is, and that's the thing. If the guy is the right one for you, Earl, he will absolutely accept that statement. I submit to no one, because he doesn't want you to submit to him. I don't want the next woman that I'm involved with to submit to me. Okay, I just not do not want that. Okay, I want somebody that treats me as an equal, to be sure, but I want a partnership, and a true partnership, if unless we both agree on something, it doesn't get done. It and that may lead to not doing a lot of things, but I don't want submission. But I used to, when I was in my fundy days with my wife, it was like, if we had a disagreement, we still did it my way. So, and that didn't always work out. Okay, so yeah, it is so old, and it's so done. I'm so done with it. And I think that's the thing, Rimmer. I look at my relationships now, and it's like, the reason I don't date much is it's just very hard to find somebody that's going to date that has that attitude. There's so many women that are very Christian in their mentality. And so I've even seen it on dating sites that are secular. Well, I'm looking for a man that I can submit to. And I'm like, oh, well, shit, you're off my list. So, okay, fair point. That's true. So there's that. You're getting drunk on this one, Evan. I can understand. Let's see. I remember being taught that wives should be submit to husband, and we should practice by being quiet, while the wives should practice by leading. So I couldn't volunteer for stuff at church anymore. Oh, damn. Yeah, no. Yeah, this is another damaging part of this, is because you'll see it inside the youth groups, because you'll have, like in my Pentecostal days, the boys in the youth group always got most of the leadership positions. Like, I don't remember there being a female president of the youth group ever. Okay. In fact, I don't remember a female vice president. They did the secretary treasurer roles a lot, but they were never allowed to be in the leadership positions. And that was true in my church too, because you had to have male deacons and male pastors, and they allowed for women preachers, but never male pastors at the time. So, so yeah, trad wives. There's a lot of trad wives out there, as you know well as I do. That's what they want. They want the guy to take care of them, and they want the guy to tell them what to do. And I'm not into that kind of fun anymore. So yes, African American. The thing about that is, there's still a very traditional mindset in Africa for a large chunk of it. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing, more power to it if it gives you happiness. But yeah, you do. You avoid a lot of drama. Don't get me wrong, there's some benefits to being coupled up. Coming home to somebody to talk to is a big benefit if you have a good relationship. Somebody that understands you and sympathetic to you, that's always a plus. But you also need that person that you come in and you start whining about something, and they slap you and say, hey, quit whining about that shit. Everybody's going through that. It's like, there you go. Good job. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they did. We had the genders together, but there was no hand holding or anything. Even if you were coupled up, you had to sit like not touching anybody and things like that. It was, but the leadership roles definitely got doled out to the boys, and the girls kind of got the support roles, even when they got like leadership roles. So, but yeah, I don't know. Well, it's time for the recap. Let's have him recap.
Dating. So whether you're dating now or have plans to date in the future, remember these 4 guidelines. Guideline number 1, set up physical boundaries. Guideline number 2, check their pace, yours and your partner's. Guideline number 3, live life, not fantasy. And guideline number 4, love God more than your partner. All right? So, we hope this helps. And in all your dating or future dating, never forget, Jesus loves you.
Okay, that's the end of it. All right. I think 1 is a bad idea. Okay. In a certain sense, because what they mean by physical boundaries is don't do anything. Okay. And I think you can have physical boundaries, but it's like, it's a trust thing. Yeah. So there's that. Yeah. Yeah. That's probably true. I've seen that, Earl. I agree with you. Yes. Number 1, don't fool around. Okay. But yeah, his idea of physical boundaries and what I would consider good, healthy physical boundaries are different. Like my thing is consensual. If you get to a point in the relationship and you both say, hey, let's go to the bedroom, and you're both down with it and you're both good with it, I don't think you should have any guilt about that. So check their pace. Yeah, you want to be in some. There's a point to be made, but I think the way Christians do this, they really set themselves up for exclusivity, where they're just like, this is my exclusive group, and I don't date people. The old joke I had when we were Pentecostals that went around youth groups and when I was a young adult is, don't date. Don't drink, smoke, or chew, and don't date girls that do. So it's like it was that kind of mentality of keeping yourself pure. And so the whole purity culture actually gets its thing from the checking your pace of making sure you're on the same page as them, have the same dedication to God. It's all about God. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah, I disagree within this context. There's number 4 is complete bullshit. Okay. I think if you love somebody more than your partner, it better be with the okay of the partner, and it should probably not be somebody who's a fantasy character. Checking their pace has some good elements to it. It's like, I get that you want to be on somebody that's pulling together with you, that you're a team, that you have some of the same goals and objectives for your life. That's all really good advice. It's when they bring in the Christian shit that it's kind of that. But live life fantasy would be a great one. But as Katie points out, if you're going to remove the fantasy life, the whole Jesus loves you, love God more, the whole following the Bible thing kind of heads for the door with number 3. But he has some good advice in there, like for dating. Like I thought there was some good advice there. Like don't just have the high dates where you have a good time, but also like, get together and do something together that's a little bit more real life. I mean, does your real lives mesh with each other? And that's going to change too. So it's like, I remember that one. I remember that one. Yes, establishing boundaries. I agree with you, Earl. Like he's focused on the sex aspect of it, which I agree there should be boundaries there that you cross together. Okay. Like there are established boundaries that you're going to cross together when you're both in a consensual mood, but there's other things to talk about. That is for damn sure. There's certain boundaries about, I don't know if I could be in a relationship with a woman who isn't at least half as dirty minded as I am, because I'm going to go there. Okay. And if that's a boundary for you, like you don't like it when people talk dirty about you, then I guess I'm going to be out, but once the sexual relationship starts, yeah, my snappy sexual banter is going to start about you, and you have to be okay with that. And that's a discussion that needs to be happened ahead of time. And for both of us, talking about autism, talking about hypersensitivity, and how, for you, there would have to be a lot of boundaries of this is what you can't do because it's going to freak me out. Okay. And for me, it'd be this is what you can't do because you have to be careful, because my sensitivity to touch is different than Earl's. So mine is very positive. So I tend to pair bond with somebody much quicker than normal, and with the physical stuff. So I have to be very careful that I'm not reading into stuff. So, but boundaries are important. Yes, girls that do. That has a double meaning. If you look at the expression, don't smoke, drink, or chew, and date girls that do. So don't date a girl that does all those things, and don't date a girl that does. So, so honor and respect of each other is secondary to everything about God. I didn't see any either, Coyote. There was a lot of establishing things God's way, but not consideration of your partner. There was never anything in this video about that. I would absolutely agree that there was not a lot about that. Yeah, I don't think you missed it. It wasn't there. Probably true. Yeah, what does dirty mean, though? I don't know. I mean, I don't see when you become an atheist, what constitutes dirty and just what constitutes regular life get really blurred. To me, sex is just a part of life now, and so it's like it's that. So I don't know. Oh, but yeah, I don't know. I this is kind of the end of the video, but and then the love God more. I just think that sets you up for some really weird mental states. Like you're literally admitting that every Christian marriage is a threesome with God in there. And it's like, I think that's going to be awkward. Okay. I just think it's going to be awkward. So yeah, that becomes a problem with the argument for design too. Yeah. Some people are just prudes. Okay. They're prudish about it, and other people are not. I would have to be involved with somebody who isn't a prude. My ex-wife was a prude, so, and I drove me nuts. So, so yeah, if you have to change the sheets, it's dirty. So yeah, it's a literal. Yeah, it definitely is, and it. When I point people out, this is one of the things about that really gives Christians the creeps if they really believe in the God. And it's one of the points that really hits their emotional side of their belief is just to point out to them that every time they've done it with their wife or husband, God has watched. So, 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 hey, my favorite dirty joke. White horse fell into the mud. It's my favorite dirty joke. Yes, it's a complex word with many, many meanings. And, you know, I'm sorry, my dirty minded nature, even when I hear the phrase Jesus loves you, it's like, how? How does he love me? Yes, that's a sliding scale. Yeah, I think we're all he's not the answer to that confusion. No, it definitely creates more confusion. So, yeah. Well, hope you all like this one. This one was fun. Um, just thank you to everybody for coming out tonight. I do have some announcements about the Saturday stream coming up on Rabyd Fire. I'm doing some thoughts, but I'm kind of looking at my time involvement in live streaming and videos and stuff. So I'm kind of trying to readjust my priorities a little bit. So there's that. Oh, all righty then. Yeah. Yeah. You guys, I'll take care. This has been a fun one, but this is not one that I would recommend to people outside the Christian circuit. And even with Christians, I would tell you there's a lot of fine print on this that you should probably look into. Especially when guys do it. Oh, I love Jesus so much. He's so awesome. I'm like, do you realize how gay you sound right now? Yeah. So there's that. But yeah, you just missed it, Alex. I am so sorry, but it's a good watch because there's. Make sure you keep the chat on too because it's hilarious. So, but thanks everybody for stopping by. Appreciate all of you. Make sure you hit the like button and all that stuff. Share the video. Super chat, super thanks are always welcome on my streams. They justify my time. That's kind of where I'm going with streaming. So, but yeah, thanks everybody for being here. You guys have been awesome. I'm never disappointed when I put a question to the chat, like give me, Christian pickup lines that shouldn't be there. So thanks everybody. I love you all. You guys are great. But don't take the advice of this video. There's a few good points in it, but, okay. Hit the like button. All right. All right. All right. You love me more than Jesus. Thank you very much. Thanks, Earl. Thanks, John, all the way from Holland. I appreciate all you guys. Sleep with your hand. Yeah, hit that like button, people. Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. But as always, live your best life, guys. You only get one go around. So make sure you take all your time, money, and energy and put all that into yourself and the people you love and care for. And to make this a better world, you'll be happier if you do. And don't waste it on the trappings of religion and faith. That's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, guys, thanks for stopping by. And I will definitely catch you all next time.